What is up, y'all? How y'all doing? Welcome back to Rip the Net, talking sports, talking culture. My name is Eric,
I'm Dre.
I'm Alexi.
and we're excited to be with y'all, man. It's February 10th, 2025, day after the Super Bowl. How y'all doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it was maybe good. We'll get to how good I actually am. Generally I'm fine, but things didn't go how I planned last night, so I'm sure we'll get into it.
That's a crazy way to answer. How are you?
Yeah, I had to rethink that.
Oh man, I'd say I'm just a solid good.
Fair enough.
No, that's what's up. That's what's up. Okay, cool, man. Well, while we've kind of already opened the can of worms, so Alexi, do you want to introduce the topic?
Yeah, man. Super Bowl just happened. We got to talk about it a little bit. And I'm going to say, as someone who does not normally watch American football, I was intrigued by this game. Initially, I tuned in just to see the halftime show by Kendrick, which we will talk about. But as I was watching the game, and y'all can tell me if I was wrong, but it felt like the game was going much faster. That's been one of my big issues with football, is that I could never watch it because it felt like it was so slow and always being cut up and just taking forever for plays to actually go on and continue the game. But I did notice they added like a shot clock type of thing for like the quarterback to start the play, I guess. But other than that, I don't know. It felt a lot faster. And even though the Eagles were blowing out the Chiefs, I mean, it was entertaining to watch. So I'm just curious if you guys thought similarly, if you even watched the game, if you cared about it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I did check out the game. Well, not the whole game. Midway through the third quarter, I checked out. I'm not gonna lie.
Same. After that, there was no coming back.
Yeah, and I had an agenda I was trying to push, and it did not go my way. I'll just put it that way. But I didn't actually pick up on that. As someone who I haven't been super into football the last few years, but as someone who grew up watching it, I didn't really pick up on the speed thing. Maybe I have to watch a few more games. But I feel like the Super Bowl always feels a little bit faster, only because the commercials are generally more entertaining, so it doesn't feel as dull in between drives and stuff.
I don't know about this year, bro. Those commercials,
in general, yeah. Honestly, I tuned out during the commercials, so I couldn't even tell you what the fire ones were. But the shot clock thing, they always have had that. Well, it's not really. It's just there is just a timer to when you have to start the game, because then there's a penalty that's called delay of game. So if you don't start it in time, there's that. But I think the thing is they don't always show it. So maybe that's where you saw they'll put it up on a graphic up. So
they had it very visible this time. Yeah. I've never seen it before, so
interesting.
Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, overall the game was kind of dull. Obviously, the ending score doesn't look as bad as it actually was. Those are mostly consolation points at the end. They got absolutely destroyed. It wasn't even close. Just cooked. And my agenda. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Or actually, no. Sorry. Speak about your agenda.
Yeah, I have a rant about my agenda. So Eric, I'll let you give your opening thoughts.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was cool to watch. I will say, I also do not tune into football. I pretty much, I'll know the big names, right? I knew Mahomes, Kelsey, Checo, Jalen Hurts, Saquon. So knew a few names, but enough to really care. I'm not really a fan of either team, so I wasn't really rooting crazy. I know Dre's been mentioning the agenda. I will say I was somewhat sort of rooting for the Chiefs because I've been a Tom Brady hater all my life. I'm from New York City.
Criminal.
And yeah, so for those who, for the listeners, Dre and I grew up in New York City. I'm not sure if that's what Dre is going to get into, but we went to school in New England, so it was actually miserable. Because we also happened to go to high school around the time where Brady was just dominating the league. So
where he was the GOAT.
Listen, I don't know if there was a single. I'm trying to remember who played our sophomore year, but I definitely can say with confidence, freshman, junior, and senior year, the Pats were in the Super Bowl. I can't remember who played our sophomore year, but we went to school in New England during a very miserable time to be a Tom Brady hater because you're surrounded by Pats fans and they were winning. They were playing well, but yeah, that's all to say. I was rooting for the Chiefs, and as we know, that did not go well. But I want to hear more about the agenda, hear more about y'all's thoughts as well.
Yeah, I think the one year it wasn't the Patriots Super Bowl. It was the Broncos and Panthers, that was cool in itself. You know, I think it was Peyton Manning, Cam Newton. We don't have to get into that, but that was cool too. But
oh yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you were nail on the head. My agenda, I am the number one Tom Brady hater out there, bro. If Tom Brady only has one hater, it's me, and I'm that guy. And I have an agenda where even when Tom Brady was making his GOAT charge, I was I held on as long as possible. Joe Montana's the GOAT. Joe Montana's the GOAT. Even I'll throw in a shout for Jerry Rice. Honestly, to me, Jerry Rice is really the GOAT. But, you know, they only really want to talk about quarterbacks. So out of the quarterbacks, Joe Montana's the GOAT. And then at a certain point, even when he had 6, I was like, yeah, Joe Montana's undefeated, though. He didn't get beat by Eli twice and Nick Foles. Joe Montana's the GOAT. But when he hit 7, even though the 7 was kind of foo-foo, you know, he went and did it. He went and joined a stacked team, and he beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl when Mahomes had no O-line, and Mahomes was doing crazy circus throws that the receivers were dropping. It was the craziest throws I've ever seen. But he got the 7th, and I was like, I can't really, be honest with myself and deny that this guy's the GOAT at this point, even if I have my qualms. But now Mahomes is on an unprecedented run to start his career. And he has, I'm not going to say, to me, the GOAT conversation didn't even open yet. People were saying, oh, if he, the GOAT conversation started, and if he wins this now, it's a real debate. To me, it was like he had to win this to even open the door. Now I saw today on First Take, Stephen A. saying the GOAT conversation's over. It wasn't even started. What are you even talking about? I just can't stand those very quick narratives. I know they have to do it for TV, whatever, but yeah, to me, he had to win this just because the three-peat. If he got this three-peat, that was my agenda. I was going to whip out my lawyer skills and start really going to work the GOAT, he's on the way. Because the three-peat is something Brady never did. No one's ever done in the Super Bowl era. So I was like, if Mahomes gets this, even if he doesn't get 7, which I don't think he will. 7's really tough to get. Andy Reid's old. Kelsey's, seems like he's slowly declining. So 7's tough. But I was like, if he can get 5 and he has a three-peat, then we have a serious conversation on our hands. I think you don't have to have the most rings to be the GOAT. Jordan doesn't have the most rings. So it's not, I don't think that's the end all be all. And I think just pure quality wise, he's better than Brady. Just actual ability, he's better. But he's
after that game yesterday though, I don't know if you could say that, bro.
I would still stand on that, but it wasn't looking good, man. I'll put it out that way.
It was looking awful, bro. There was a crazy stat that I think it was for Kelsey, but still, he didn't receive a single ball in the first half.
Kelsey's washed, bro.
The conversion rate in that first half was just non-existent.
I have a theory about Kelsey. I honestly think, because I've watched a lot of Travis Kelsey before, obviously, the Taylor Swift-ism of the NFL, and everyone's saying, even my mom yesterday, we were going into the halftime show, we were all going to watch the halftime show, she was like, oh, I see, it's just Travis Kelsey's on the screen. It's like, that's Taylor Swift's husband, or whatever, or man. And she doesn't even listen to Taylor Swift. That really got under my skin, I ain't gonna lie. But even before Taylor Swift made her way to be the face of the NFL, I watched a lot of Travis Kelsey because the Chiefs were getting deep runs in the playoffs every year. And Travis Kelsey is a dog. But recently, Travis Kelsey, the main thing he always does, he catches it. Even if he's short of a first down, he'll try to get the first down, no matter what. He's pretty good at turning and getting extra yards. But recently, I'm like, bro, Taylor must have said, we need you to not get that CTE for our kids, bro. You got to be around longer. Because this dude's not really going for it the same way he used to. That's my theory. I honestly believe that. But yeah, y'all can chime in.
Yeah, I don't really know how to go after that.
I'm sorry, I'm tweaking. My agenda was ruined.
But see, that goes back to, I guess, your point of y'all both kind of considered the game to be dull. And as someone, again, kind of novice football watcher, I was very entertained by the fact that Mahomes was getting cooked. He was getting intercepted. They were getting fumbled. It was crazy. And then to see, what's his name? Jalen Hurts? That's his name? The other QB? Yeah. Like, bro, this dude didn't even need to pass. He was running with the ball a few times. There was no pressure on him. That was really entertaining to me. And even though it was a blowout, like the way they did it and kind of seeing the downfall of those big names in that game where, like you said, to even be considered a GOAT, for that door to open, he needed to put in the work, and it was not there at all. I saw a camera pan to a bench, and they looked like they got struck with the biggest depression since the 1920s, bro. It was crazy.
It's crazy.
That's a bar, but yeah, fair play. Go ahead, Eric.
The Eagles, I mean, they were just playing, like, the Eagles were just playing, like, a very strong defense. Like, their defensive line, the Chiefs could not pass the ball. They were unable to rush the ball either. Like, it was so hard to watch because
dissected.
I was expecting the Chiefs to actually win. Like, I was like, I've seen the dominant run they've been on. I was like, there's no shot they lose. Like, I was so convinced the 3-peat was gonna happen. So to see them get exposed, and to even see in some cases the way they were dropping passes or picking up just like unnecessary and dumb penalties, it was really hard to watch. It just seemed like they just weren't on the same page, and it was sad because what I wanted the most was just like some competitive game. Like, I wanted to be engaged, man. I was at a Super Bowl watch party. I left after halftime show went on, and we were all on our way home. We were like, yeah, nah, let's go. We got to work tomorrow. So it was sad, but it was also like, it was just hard to watch, and I really wanted to watch. As someone who does not watch football, I wanted to watch a historical event take place, being that 3-peat. And the fact that it didn't happen, I was a little upset. But, you know, it is what it is, man. It's like I said, I kind of shrugged it off after. It was like, it is what it is.
It's all right. It's all right. You've seen Tom Brady, man. You've seen your history.
Nah, man.
Okay. I need to hear that. But yeah, I agree. I think the worst thing to watch is like a blowout Super Bowl. Those are just like, it's just not fun to watch. I think with other sports that have like series and stuff, it can be more interesting. Like, even if you get blown out game one, like, you can make adjustments, come back, but just blowout Super Bowl is kind of anticlimactic. And I feel like the Chiefs came into this to like with one game plan, because coming into this game, the Eagles like Saquon Barkley, which honestly, even though I wanted the Chiefs to win for my Mahomes agenda, Saquon Barkley, I'm happy he got a ring. This dude got absolutely wasted on the Giants. He went to the Giants' rivals in the Eagles in his first year and won a ring. Put up a legendary season in terms of rushing yards. Like, it's just ridiculous how good this guy is and how much he was wasted on a terrible franchise. But coming into this game, the Chiefs clearly had a game plan to stop the run, and they were very successful in that case. Like, Saquon didn't go crazy, but it seems like that's all they remembered to do. It was like, okay, we gotta stop Saquon, and they just forgot about the rest of the game. But the Eagles were just getting very easy mid-range pass down the field, long pass down the field. Like, it was just Jalen Hurts obviously taking off. Nothing on offense. It was like, okay, we just got to stop Saquon. I think maybe they just game plan for that a little too much, honestly. So that was a bit of a shame to watch. It just wasn't. I'm sure for Eagles fans, it was the best thing ever. But from a neutral standpoint, it just wasn't the most entertaining for me, at least. And I know a lot of Chiefs haters out there were probably gassed because the Chiefs are the most hated team. I think when you're the best, you're always the most hated. But especially because of the whole refs narrative this year that the refs are always helping the Chiefs. So I know people are gassed out there that they lost, but I'm not.
Yeah.
The Madrid of the NFL.
Yeah, these days, honestly.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Any other comments?
Oh, man, just shout out to FaZe Jev, man. This dude on YouTube always complains about the Eagles. Never thought he'd live to see them win a Super Bowl. Now he's seen them win too. So Happy for my boy.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Yeah. 100%.
But
Cool.
you know, if y'all didn't want to watch the game, man, y'all did want to watch that halftime show because Kendrick went crazy, in my opinion. There's been a lot of controversy online, mainly between the racists and the regular people, on the status and the performance of that show. Yeah, essentially. It's been split between I can't understand a word he's saying, and yeah, that was good. That was art, and I stand on the side of art, man. I stand on the side of art. I thought it was a great performance in terms of messaging and just everything that Kendrick is about, and he took that opportunity of performing on the country's biggest stage in front of the president, and he did his thing. He stayed true to himself, and he played the song we all wanted to hear. He looked at that camera, said, "Hey Drake," and I left that halftime show satisfied. So, what are we thinking?
I will say, when the show was about to start, like I think the halftime show was taking place, and you could see part of the stage. I saw the car at the center of the stage. So I was thinking actually he was gonna have a very like an homage to LA, kind of just like Super Bowl performance, which in hindsight I can see why he didn't. Like LA just had that Super Bowl 3 years ago. That was 3 years ago. Rams versus Bengals. And that was like the LA Super Bowl, LA halftime show. Like everything about it screamed LA. But given just how big of a year LA has had, Dodgers winning the World Series, Kendrick's like real big, just like blow up with the album, with the Drake beef. I mean, I really thought it was just going to be an homage to LA, and to see the way he turned this whole thing into just like more of a statement. Obviously, everyone was expecting the Drake antics, the Drake diss. I don't think anybody was expecting Serena's Crip Walk, which I thought was probably the most iconic thing to happen.
The look on her face, that was iconic.
Yeah, and in all honesty, just everything about it was just so on point. The Samuel L. Jackson, little like the part that he played as Uncle Sam. Like there were just so many like little bits there where I was just like, oh, this is cool, this is awesome. Like you could see the intent in it.
Yeah, I have to say this is the first time, maybe I'm gassing it too much, but this is the first show I've seen where I've actually like looked at the choreography while watching it and like kind of seen like, oh, I kind of see what they're going for with their movements there, and like what they're trying to get at. Before, I've always kind of seen it as like a background thing for the entertainment, but I don't know. Even here, I'm overanalyzing, bro. I saw people online saying every time people watch Kendrick, they act like this dude's the Riddler, and you know what? They're right.
It's funny.
Kendrick just open his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now. But nah, it's like
5
Grammy. What? But nah, it's yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's definitely. I've been seeing, like you said, Alexia, at the beginning. I've been seeing a lot of the conversation online about it's the worst Super Bowl halftime performance of all
them
time.
skinhead profile pictures, bro.
Crazy. Like I can understand. I think it was definitely a risk because Kendrick surely isn't for everyone. Like hip hop isn't for everyone, especially in terms of like if we're talking about NFL fan base. It's probably this sports where it's probably less. It's probably not for hockey.
Taking place in the deep south too. Like you don't know who's in that attendance.
I think it was definitely a risk, and especially because of hip hop as a performance piece. Like it's tough because obviously he has to censor the songs, and he's like he manipulates some of the lyrics and switches them up, and the breath control and all this kind of stuff. People are like, I don't really understand it, but I don't think they appreciate the amount he's doing to make this a televisable performance. And in that case, like it's honestly like S tier. Like I don't think there's many people on his level in terms of breath control, even just like I'm sure obviously it's super rehearsed, but just like the way in which he's switching up these songs and for them to be able to be put on TV, like the flows, even the things that he replaces certain words with to be cheeky, like you said, the choreography. I'm a choreography merchant, and like the choreo on this was amazing. I know a lot of people recognize like the American flag they formed with the bodies and just the different colors they're wearing, and then obviously they have like the formations they were making with the PlayStation controls.
That was sick. My parents were like, "Oh, Squid Game," and I'm like, "No, that's PlayStation. Let's respect that."
Same.
Let's respect that.
Same. That's so hilarious.
That's actually hella funny. But yeah, then the game over at the end, just like all of it, the storytelling throughout it was just really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Even just like you guys said, even getting Sam Jackson, like that was dope. I was not expecting that at all. I think a lot of people were wondering like what musical features he would have. I think SZA was like the obvious one. I think people were hoping he'd have more.
And shout out to her too. She was incredible.
Yeah, he went crazy. She sounded really good. I'm not even like the craziest SZA fan, but like I can appreciate how well she's sang there. Yeah. I just think they're just a great duo in general. But just overall, yeah, I thought it was fire. I will say, and maybe we could talk about, I don't know if you guys have any criticisms. I'm not going to say it's the greatest one I've ever seen, but I will say in terms of song selection, I can appreciate the ones he chose for the story he was telling. But in terms of just pure like recognizability or even just hype, I thought he would have more diverse selections from like some of his other albums. I think the ones he went for were kind of a GNX heavy set list, which makes sense. Like he just released GNX for this, which makes sense. But I guess there was a good amount of Damn as well. But I was hoping there would be maybe like a Mad City or even, I'm not sure what he would have done from To Pimp a Butterfly, but maybe King Kunta or something. But I think it's also tough because he was a part of the Dr. Dre one a couple years ago, and he did do some songs there as well. So maybe he didn't want to repeat too many.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that would have been tough, and of course, fitting it within 13 minutes is tough. But overall, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I think for me personally, it probably was my favorite, primarily because it is the first like Super Bowl performance that's only performed by a rapper, like, you know, not as a feature, not with other people, you know, as a big guest, but just them, albeit, you know, featuring SZA, but still he was the majority of the performance. And being able to see that and appreciate, like you said, just how he performed it in that arena. Like, I've never seen hip hop performers rap that much and like say as much as they do, and the choreography and everything, and it turn out well. Like, usually when you see clips of them rapping, like they rap one sentence and then like sit back for 30 seconds and like shake their head. So like, obviously Kendrick was going to do well, but he just proved that on the stage. Like you said, the symbolism was really important. I think that he went that route. There wasn't a lot of flair in terms of like pyro and fireworks and like changing of the sets all that much. I think it really was in the little set design and choreography that they did have, that the attention was fully there, and that he wanted people to see that and appreciate that and understand it. And I think a lot of the discourse online is with people who maybe don't have the literacy to see that stuff, don't want to see that stuff, I think is a big part of it. And I think being able to have a conversation like that coming from a Super Bowl halftime show, it's really important and really cool to see, because I think football, one thing I've always disliked about it too is it always seems like a weird outlet for the US as a country to be like, look at us in our military and our might and our manliness as we play this manly national game of football. It's like this weird combination of like government and sport that you don't really see anywhere else, I feel like. So for him to kind of acknowledge that connection in his performance, for me, was really interesting. And I think that's a big reason why I liked it.
Good point. I like that. It definitely does always feel like it's a big statement by the country. Like, it's, you know, the commercials are super Well, it used to be at least. Like there used to be a lot of hype around the commercials. Um, so I definitely hear what you're getting at. I will say in regards to like why just songs or majority songs from GNX. I will say him and SZA are going on tour very soon. I did see. So I can also see this kind of being like a little bit of like of a promotional, because I guarantee you a lot of people saw that last night and probably want to buy tickets now to go see them live. So and it's a stadium tour. So,
Yeah.
there's that as well. So,
And I think GNX too has like most of the. I feel like for Kendrick, it's a lot of songs which are just fun to hear and to like dance to. Like, sure, he has other songs like that in his catalog, but I feel like the most approachable maybe are from GNX.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think it's like a double-edged sword where like, as I'm sure the three of us all listen to GNX, and there's people who follow Kendrick and follow maybe not hip hop as a whole anymore, but like I still follow like this side of hip hop to an extent. Like I was excited to hear these GNX songs, and like I was watching with my family, and I was bumping the songs, singing the lyrics to all the songs. But I think the other side of that is that because GNX is so recent, and if you're not already tapped in, then there's even like a lesser chance that you would have heard some of these songs or like been as familiar. Other obviously, like not like this is not on GNX, but like that one speaks for itself. But like even like Squabble Up or TV Off, which are big for like the community, but I feel like it's so recent that like if you're not tapped in, you might not have heard it. Whereas like something like Humble, which is like however many years old and was super big at the time, even if you're not super tapped into Kendrick, by now you would have heard Humble and you would have recognized Humble. So it's kind of, I mean, I'm sure he would say himself, he's not doing it for everyone. Like he's doing it for those that know and those that he want, like that are like into this scene and into the community. So I think it is a double-edged sword, just coming from a purely like mass appeal standpoint, because I know that's what the NFL likes to go for, but generally I thought it was still solid. And I want to give a shout out too to the PG Lang team and Dave Free. I watched in an interview before the Super Bowl halftime where it's like Kendrick did like an actual sit down interview for like half hour or something, which he rarely does these days, like any interviews really, with I think it was Ebro and someone else, I think Nadeska or something like that. But
yeah
I remember him saying in that interview that the entire thing was put together by PG Lang, like even all the tech side and the like the storytelling, all that kind of stuff was all like a PG Lang production. So I just want to shout that out, because you could kind of feel that even when I was watching it, and it wasn't a slight, but I was like, you could feel this feels a little bit smaller in scale compared to some previous Super Bowl halftime shows. Also because he's a rapper, like I think singers tend to have more bombastic sets in general. But it felt very intentional, which I liked, and I can appreciate that PG Lang were behind all of it, and it's really impressive, honestly.
Yeah, it's great that they're given that creative control. I think we can maybe thank Jay-Z for that, because he's the one I think who heads the whole halftime show thing, right, for the NFL.
Really good. I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Last thing about Kendrick before we move on. He performed Not Like Us, man. Did it live up to what you were expecting with the Drake slights? Was this the final nail in the coffin? You know, for me, I think it was like the greatest possible victory lap you could have after a rap battle like that. And I do not see Drake coming back in any capacity to the level he was at before this started.
Oh, whoops. Yeah. Honestly, I think it lived up. The way he was teasing it, I think we all knew he was gonna play it. At least, even with the ongoing lawsuit, like I was convinced that he was. That's the whole reason why I feel like people were excited for it, because, you know, when's the last time you can remember a diss track being played at the halftime show? Like, I don't think I can point to anything. So the way he was kind of teasing it, the way the beat was kind of coming in, and then he would transition into another song, and then that last line where, well, there were a couple, there was like, you know, they like to sue, and then he was like something like they tried to, what was it, like rig the game, but you can't fake influence. Like, he was teasing it for a minute, and then when he finally, I think he started with like a bit of a freestyle, then he finally like starts rapping the song. I got hyped because I was like, ain't no way, man. Like, even though like I said, I knew he was gonna play Not Like Us. When he actually did play it, there was I think it was everything that you would kind of expected. The crowd singing along, like you mentioned earlier, Lexi. He like looks right into the camera, and I don't know. It was such a moment, and I feel like that's gonna be one of those that just people are gonna remember forever. Definitely, like, that's history right there. Like, as cliche, as corny as it sounds, I think it is history. So I
I'm
felt
gonna
like
be in the retirement home talking about that, bro.
no, literally, like, tell your kids, like, back in my day, like, this is how,
Literally.
Yeah. So I thought it was really cool. I was happy with it.
Yeah, same. I like the way he teased it a lot. Just because, like you said, Eric, I agree. To me, there was no way he wasn't gonna play it, but for some reason, leading up to the Super Bowl, there was a lot of discourse like, is he going to be allowed to play it? Like, is the NFL going to allow that? Is like TV going to allow that with the subject matter and all this kind of stuff? And to me, like, there was never in doubt, like, this song is definitely going to play it. There's no way it can't. But even the fact that that was a discussion, and obviously he was tapped in and he knew that was a discussion. So it was okay. Now that we know that, we can play with this, we can tease this, and work in, like you said, like the whole lawsuit angle and all that kind of stuff. Or even like earlier on, he was talking about the revolution is about to be televised. You got the right time, but the wrong guy. Like things like that, where I was like, he knows, like he's just too tapped in. Honestly, he's just like, I don't even try to glaze. Like, I'm not even saying he's my favorite artist of all time or anything, but this dude genuinely is a genius. Like in at least in an artistic form,
Literally.
he just gets it, and in a way that I think a lot of other artists who might be similarly musically talented don't fully get like the full picture the way he does. And the way he worked that in and then finally dropped it, and then even like the Serena, like we talked about, looking at the camera, like we talked about, bringing out Mustard, and then transitioning it, because we would have thought that maybe would be the last song, but then transitioning it into TV Off, which to me, when I heard that song on the album, like him saying turn his TV off, I always read that as like him saying turn like Drake's TV off. That's how I always read it, or heard it, interpreted it when I had listened to the album.
Mm-hmm.
But like the way he did it and like the order he did it, and then turn his TV off into the game over lights, it was just like a perfect bow on the entire thing for me.
Yeah.
And I think it really was like, okay, this entire year, people will say he's dragging it, whatever. I don't care. I think once you have a win on that level, you can have your victory lap. And I think this was him saying, okay, this is it. Like, this is finally, after this, like, I'm sure he was going to perform it on tour and stuff, whatever. But in terms of like on this stage, this is really it. Like, no matter what Drake does, like, it's raps, I got the dub, and we move on.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Mustard coming out, because I thought that was dope too, to see, producer behind this get credit. You never really see people in the background like that get their credit. So it's cool that Kendrick's been standing by him and letting him in on the ride.
Sure.
I got to agree.
I do wish. Oh, no,
Yeah.
sorry, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna agree that finishing the set with TV off was really sick, and maybe I'm getting a little too political with my interpretation here, but I really appreciated it because with this whole thing being hosted by Fox, which is obviously very far right quote unquote news source, it felt like almost a direct slight at them, because he has dissed them in the past on past records for what they do to American society. So for him to be like, turn this TV off, clicking at the camera, like saying, all right, you're good, you can turn off now, they don't need your viewership anymore. I interpreted it that way, and I was like, that's cool, I mess with that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was down. Just one quick thing, because you mentioned Mustard, and it made me I mentioned Mustard, and you brought up the producer being behind it. That reminded me of one thing where it's like, this made me think of Metro, and I do wish we guys liked that verse in this in this Super Bowl performance. Like, that's a song, in terms of, we're talking about other songs that go hard from him in terms of like this setting. I know it's not technically his song, but that would have popped off for me anyway. That's one of my favorite. Like, as the song I've been bumping since it dropped to this day, it's still in my rotation. I just get to his verse these days, but it's still in my rotation. So I would wish we would have got that.
Yeah, Metro robbed of a Grammy, man.
I was also going to mention the whole Game Over thing and the blackout. Like, he has definitely had his victory lap with this whole track. I think the final nail in the coffin was that big concert he did. I believe is that Intuit, right? Where he brought out everybody from LA. He had Russell Westbrook. He had DeMar DeRozan on stage. He had just like a lot of people.
Oh, when he brought LA together, yeah.
Yeah, and
I think that was at the Forum, yeah.
Oh, was it the Forum? Might have been the Forum. I was like, what other arenas? Yeah, the Forum. And just the way he performed that song, I can't remember how many times he performed Not Like Us. I thought that was the final nail in the coffin. I've heard people say this was
the first nail.
I've heard people say like the final nail had already been nailed in. This was just him turning the grave over and just like walking away. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to see beef at this level, like so publicly just put out there and have the way everyone was kind of just feeding into it. It was cool. It was cool. And I can't, like, really, I know I mentioned it already, but Serena's Crip Walk was really what did it for me, man. Like, I think that's where I lost my mind. But yeah.
Dancing on his grave.
Yep. All around. Great performance. Cool.
And literally, what makes it all the better, bro, Drake is in the land down under right now. So it all adds up.
Yeah. I don't know how you like do a whole tour while this is going on. Like
trying to act like 50, bro, like bullet holes and smoke coming out of his chest. Like, bro, you're not that guy. You're not that guy. Stop.
That's funny. Dang. Cool, man. All right. Well, next topic that I wanted to cover is the NBA trade deadline. I know some time has passed, and by the time this comes out, it will have been more or less like a week since all the trades were finalized. But the main ones I really wanted to get to, the Jimmy Butler trade, which I'll start with. That was the Warriors receiving Jimmy Butler, Heat receiving Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, PJ Tucker, and a 2025 first round pick. And yes, then the Jazz and Pistons are involved, but I will say the most important portion of this trade is the most important teams are the Warriors and the Heat. So I know we talked about it in previous episodes, the whole Jimmy Butler drama. So we finally got to see him dealt out to another team, to a contender, quote unquote, depending on who you may ask. So do y'all have any reactions to that trade to begin with?
Yeah. For me, this is interesting in the sense that the Warriors are obviously trying to win now. Makes sense. All their stars are almost over the hill. Obviously, Steph's still performing at a high level, but he's only got so many years left. But it's interesting because they're bringing in another guy who's around that same age. And I guess maybe it's smart to get one group out the door at the same time. So it's like, okay, there's no point having a younger guy who doesn't fit the timeline. But I don't know. I don't know if this makes them, especially after the trades that just happened, I didn't know if this made them any kind of like top 2 or 3 contender. So I don't know if, for me, this was like the thing to go all in on. But the thing is, he wanted out anyway, so might as well make the best of the situation. Obviously, now after AD's injury, I don't know how long he's out for. Do you know how long AD's out for, Eric? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, at the moment he's out indefinitely. It's several weeks. So it's not looking good. I think he'll be back for the playoffs, which doesn't really mean much because I think you need some time for that team to gel a little bit before they can really be tested for a playoff run. But yeah, no, it's not looking good. I don't think there's been an official timeline officially put out yet.
Yeah. It's not looking good, Bev. And honestly, who could have predicted that? This is like exactly like we were saying last week. Like it's just crazy, honestly. So maybe with that injury, the Warriors get to step up a little bit in terms of being a little bit more of a contender. But for me, it just maybe I'm underestimating Jimmy and how much he still has left. I think he had a good performance the other night, but I just don't see it. But maybe you think differently.
My problem with the team is more so, all right, you got Jimmy, you got Steph. Now you have still a lot of work to do. I think, and Jimmy signed like an extension worth 2 years, so I think this summer you have to go out and test out the market for Draymond. I know you probably can't get too much, but he is a very expensive contract. And if you have Butler already, I don't see why you keep Draymond. They're both like defensive first forwards and can help distribute the ball. Jimmy is good because I consider him more of like a Swiss Army knife, like whatever you need him to do, whatever role you need him to play, he can do. So if you need him to put up, be the secondary scorer on the team and put up, like 20, 30 points a game, he can do that for you. I feel like even at this age, probably won't do it in the regular season, but in order to win an NBA championship, you need to win 16 games, and I think you can count on Butler to do that. So I think you got Butler, who's a good kind of just like second punch to Steph, but I think you need something down at the 5, just more depth as a team, because you also gave away a lot of depth. You gave away Schroeder, you gave away Wiggins, and it's just that's not you're gonna need in today's game. You need more than just the big players. You really need that depth. So I don't think they do anything this year, but I think they have a shot to do something in the future. So do I think this means they'll win a championship? Probably not, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Warriors in another conference finals soon. But that's kind of as much as I'll give them. And that's me just more so obviously respecting Steph, but also respecting the crazy run Butler had in Miami, because no one expected him to make the finals twice.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was able to drag a team like that, a very young team, and now he has a superstar like Steph, you got to respect that. I just don't see him being better than the Thunder, a team like the Spurs that's really going to be on the ascension. So I don't really see much happening personally.
Yeah. And I will give him his credit for sure. I think he's definitely overachieved in terms of what people would have thought his potential was when he got in the league. Like, he just constantly outworked his talent, and he's gotten better and better and better. And yeah, like you said, dragging teams to the finals that had, not saying they were terrible, but like you would have thought had no business being there early in the season. So you got to give him his credit. But even then, that was like a couple years ago now, and he's only getting older. And if you're thinking win now, like you said, I agree. I don't see it happening this year with the current formation. You got to hope something happens over the summer. But then by that point, we're looking at, in theory, the Thunder having had another playoff run, the Nuggets having had another playoff run potentially, the Spurs getting experience. Like, you don't want to see Wemby with experience. You don't want to see SGA with more experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Nuggets going deep again potentially. If somehow the 80's healthy, even the Mavs going deep potentially, or even just getting to the second round or something. And that's just like maybe the top 4 teams, but there's no guarantee those are even the teams. You could be seeing, maybe the Clippers, but probably not. But some other teams going far in the West, even like Minnesota. We don't know what they'll do.
Lakers, gotta mention
Luka.
the Lakers.
Yeah, I can't hit, even though I don't see them winning now, I can't ever count out Luka and what he did with the Mavs either. So and obviously still Bron, and I like Rui a lot actually. But anyway, I just don't see it happening this year, like we said. And those teams that are better than them this year, or in theory, other than maybe the Lakers, because although Luka will probably get better and maybe they'll have better team construction, Brown's going to be going on his way down, so maybe not. But all those other teams are young, getting better, and if they don't, like they would need a really big summer to get enough better to be better than those teams who are also getting better, if that makes sense. So I don't see it happening, period, before Steph retires, unless he goes somewhere else or they get some crazy pieces. But we'll see. They've done that in the past. They've been great in the off season, so we'll see.
For sure. That KD trade, they were actually on their way to, instead of landing Butler, would have landed KD and would have put Butler in Phoenix, which is the team that he primarily wanted to go to. That, I think, would have given them as big of a window as they could have possibly reached. I think, a reunion between Steph, KD, and Draymond would have been super interesting, and I think would have been worth watching. But KD was the one who vetoed that trade, or who waived his no trade clause. So that's what caused that. That's what ended up causing Butler to land in Golden State. But yeah, man, I mean, we'll see what they do. I think time will tell. Alexi, do you have any comments?
Man, just looking at this on paper with little knowledge, what I'm surprised by is like the Warriors just getting one player, Heat getting 3 and a first round pick. That seems excessive, dude. You're telling me one guy, Jimmy Butler, is worth all that? Can carry like that? I don't know. That seems like a lot. Again, I'm coming with the whole understanding from soccer and how transfers work there. So this amount of people and having that draft pick, that seems like a lot.
Yeah, I hear you. I will say, if I look at every piece, they gave away Schroeder. I say Schroeder. Who they actually just got this year from the Nets. But they gave away Schroeder, they gave away Kyle Anderson, Andrew Wiggins. Those are all rotational players, so yes, they get playing time, but they don't really, you wouldn't consider them individuals who really have the ball in their hands a whole lot. And the first round pick is huge, but that's also a first round pick from this upcoming draft, which I don't anticipate to be super valuable. And they end up getting a player who some would consider a superstar. I think at the very least he's kind of like that all-star level player. So I actually think the Warriors came out winning in this trade. I think had they given up more picks, that would have been a little bit scary. But you just gave up one pick and a few, with all due respect, replaceable players. I think you've done your job, and now you've gotten your superstar the help that he needs, or that I'm sure he's also asking for behind the scenes. So I'm not too mad at it from the Warriors' perspective. From the Heat, I think this is just a sign. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but Pat Riley, the GM, was very adamant about not moving Butler until Butler made things really, really uncomfortable. So the takeaway I have from this is they held on for Butler. They held on to Butler for way too long, and in the end got a package that was very, I would say, mediocre. They could have gotten a much better package for a player like Butler had they decided to move him when he had initially requested. That's just my opinion.
When was that initial request?
That initial request was literally this season, but as the situation gets uglier and more uncomfortable, outside teams, so teams who are not the Miami Heat, who are in tune with the commotion, they now have the liberty to kind of lowball the team, because they're like, we know that you want to get rid of this player. We know that you don't want to keep him. We know that he's not going to stay on your team, so you might as well just take our offer that may not be as great, but will still be enough. So to see this being the package that he got dealt for, it's kind of, sucks to be a Heat fan, but I will also say, like, we've been seeing that all around the NBA as of recent. So it's not like there's been a lot of other teams who've been fleeced a lot more. And I know Dre was just talking about the Mavs and the Lakers, and right now, post AD injury, it's not looking great. But, I don't think this is the worst, but still worth pointing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. The next trade that I just want to quickly discuss, I definitely wanted to get to Jimmy, but the next, I don't want to call it a small trade. I think it's worth respecting, but the Milwaukee Bucks traded away Chris Middleton. So that Middleton was I guess you could say, secondary scorer in that 2021 championship. So he was definitely a key piece to that championship team. Along with AJ Johnson and a 2028 first round pick swap to the Wizards, who gave up Kyle Kuzma. Bucks also received Patrick Baldwin Jr. and Jericho Sims, and a 2025 second round pick from Jericho Sims from the New York Knicks, along with a 2025 second round pick. And the Knicks received DeLon Wright, who's a great defender, which a little sad as a Knicks fan. I like it. Nice little defensive piece for our upcoming playoff run that will be taking place in about 2 months. What I will say about this trade, was not happy to see the Bucks receive a player like Kyle Kuzma. That's kind of like the big, I guess you could say, the best player that was dealt in this trade. He played a key role on the LA Lakers when they won in the bubble, then was shipped out to Washington. And since then, kind of his career has been pretty quiet. Recently came out with comments kind of indicating that he wasn't happy in Washington, said he was done trying to fit in. And now you see him get traded over to Milwaukee, to a potential contender. But I just don't like the fit. I think the Bucks already gave up Drew Holiday a few years back in that Damian Lillard acquisition. So now you lost some perimeter defense there. I know people say Middleton has kind of lost a step, and I think that's valid, but regardless, you lost a second perimeter defender in this trade, and you just got back a player who can score on the interior, but he is not that perimeter defender that I feel like you need. So now you kind of have a team that has gotten somewhat better offensively, but has definitely regressed defensively. And I think that's been the downfall of this team ever since the Damian Lillard trade. They've kind of fallen out of that contention conversation. I know they kind of managed to sneak in here and there, but I just don't like the fit. I am not even a Bucks fan, so I should be happy about this. But to me, I'm trying to look at this from, just like the GM perspective. It's a little bit of a head scratcher. I understand it. You do get younger, but I just don't like the fit. Giannis already clogs up the paint. You just got another wing who's also going to clog up the paint. So I just don't think this is going to work out. But, you got to do what you got to do, I guess, to extend your window. But yeah, that's what I think about it. Dre, Alexi, any thoughts?
I believe it to Dre.
No, honestly, I don't. I know this is like a smaller trade on the agenda, so I won't drag it on too long. I don't have too many thoughts on this one. It was also kind of a head scratcher for me, especially as someone who wasn't really, like, I 100% wasn't following the Wizards, one of the most irrelevant teams I've ever seen. But the Bucks, I wasn't following too much, even though they have obviously Giannis and Lillard. It just was odd to me. Like you said, I know Chris Middleton isn't necessarily the Chris Middleton that helped them win a ring, but I just think there's chemistry there. There's a fit there. There's a role he can play, even as not the second scorer. Obviously, you have Dame and Giannis. You don't need him to be the second scorer. I think, like you said, defensively, there's a role there for him. And Kuzma, like I said, I haven't watched a lick of Wizards basketball probably since John Wall and Bradley Beal, so It's been a while, but looking at his stats anyway, 15 points a game, like solid. Like he's a good role player, I guess. But to me, this isn't like the move that makes the Bucks that much more of a contender in the East. I think you're probably still where you were, if not maybe even less of a contender. So it doesn't make that much sense to me. Not sure why they did it. Like you said, they get a bit younger, but for me, if Dame is 34, like you really only have like a certain window, and getting younger only does so much for you. Like you really should be looking for quality overall. I think I know younger, like you have better legs, whatever, but yeah, I don't know. This one doesn't really make that much sense to me, and we'll see how it turns out. But I'm not thinking this is going to make the Bucks get out of the East.
100%. I think more than anything, it's a desperation move. It's kind of to prove to Giannis, hey, we are trying to improve this team. Please stay. Please do not leave. So Giannis is actually his player option kicks in about 3 years. So there's still plenty of time left. But the silver lining that I can see from this, you're by the end of those 3 years, Giannis is going to be approaching. Crazy to say, but like the latter portion of his career, he will still be kind of in his prime, but it will kind of be, I think after this contract is over, he has like one big contract left, and then after that I'm sure he can land a second, but at the level that he's currently playing at and at the level that he's currently expected to produce, I think this is going to be the second to last contract that holds those expectations for a player like Giannis. So I know I bring it back to the Knicks all the time, man, but Giannis is saying send Jokic to the Knicks, basically send all the European stars to the big markets. And I know this is me just kind of like pulling this out of nowhere, but you have a superstar who I think is my prediction is he's gonna grow dissatisfied with the current state of the team. He's previously threatened to leave if they don't pick things up, and I don't see this as a move that will improve them. So I personally just will say, as a little, just like mark my words, man. I think in a few years there's gonna be a headline that states that Giannis is not satisfied in Milwaukee. He's gonna try to find his way out, and hopefully the Knicks can be one of the biggest suitors. So that's all I got to say about that. But that's my last points on that trade. Before we move on, final just things I wanted to just mention. Some, still worth mentioning, but didn't think they were really worth discussing because they didn't surround or weren't about any contenders. But you have Brandon Ingram, who has moved to Toronto for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick and a second-rounder. I did have written down the Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, and 2031 pick from the Lakers to the Hornets for Mark Williams, but that has actually been canceled as of this weekend because Williams failed the physical. So those assets get sent back to LA. They get to keep that 2031 pick, but they at the moment do not have a big man. So their contention window is still kind of up in the air if they don't have that big man. And finally, not a trade, but the Bulls re-signed Lonzo for 2 years and $20 million, which I think just is to see if his value kind of goes back up before it's a short-term contract and he's just returned from injury, but I see it as more as like a look towards the future. So I'm not mad at it. I saw a couple of people were. I don't think it's that big of a deal. $10 million a year in the NBA, it's not that crazy. So I think why not? But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all that I have to say on the trade deadline. Are there any other final comments from y'all?
No, not much. I just think that Dalton Connect, Mark Williams, Cam Reddish, all that stuff is just hilarious, honestly. I don't know if you guys saw the RDC skit on the whole trade deadline, but it's just so funny because in that skit they have like Mark Williams. It's like about the Lakers players who are leaving. They have Mark Williams entering like the house. He's like, "I'm about to win a ring," and then like it's just so funny. Just dude's going back to Charlotte. I'm sure he was hella gassed to be living in LA. And now you got to go back to Charlotte. No disrespect to Charlotte, but that's just tough. And obviously just even funnier because the Lakers team construction kind of depended on that trade, and it'll be interesting to see what they do now. I know they still have like Jackson Hayes and stuff, but like not really like a starting caliber center. So it'll be interesting to see how they move for the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure, man. Cool, man. All right, last point of conversation of the day, man. The Jordan 5, the Black Metallics, released this weekend, and I sent y'all that little Instagram post that shows people lining up at the mall trying to get their hands on these. Definitely a classic pair of sneakers, so happy to see that there's some buzz. I actually had my younger brother reach out to me asking, like, he's in high school, so he's trying to get some sneakers, and I actually recommended these to him. So do y'all have any thoughts on the buzz on these Jordan 5s? I know it's a GR release, but it's not really, like, it's not a collab. It's not like it's broken the internet. But any reactions at seeing people line up to get these?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, it's sold out pretty much everywhere. You got to go to the resale market now. And I'm a little bit surprised because 5s haven't been all that popular in recent times. And you also, just with how expensive Jordans have been and with the sneaker market in general, it's surprising to see a shoe like this sell out. I'm not mad at it. I'm just a little surprised, especially because Jordan is pushing, or they were pushing, those banned 1985 ones for, I think it was last week's release. And then we also have the Black Toe Reimagined coming up in a week. So Jordan's making a lot of moves this month. The Black Metallic 5s were not the ones I'd expect to see people line up for. But it's cool. I think it's good for this sneaker culture. I've always liked 5s, and if they get a little bigger and it means we get more colorways, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Black Metallic 5s are my favorite 5s. I wouldn't even say 5s are my favorite of like the Jordan silhouettes. It's definitely up there, probably like top 3. But I just think it's exciting seeing shoes be hyped like this again. Not that I'm super big into the hype or the resale market or anything like that, but this kind of feels a little bit nostalgic. Like back when I was heavy into sneakers, like we're talking over 10 years ago at this point, this was kind of the culture, especially in middle school. And a lot of the cool 5s were coming out. This was a lot of the culture back then, and it feels like this has waned over time. So just like, even though I'm personally not lining up for anything, it's just cool seeing something like this happen. And I'm glad personally that it happened with the 5s. And like I said in the previous episode, I'm not big on 1s, so I wouldn't have really got it for those. But for these, at least, I like the Metallic 5s. If they drop, like, maybe you guys don't feel this way, but I have a lot of nostalgia for the Oreo 5. So if they drop something like that, you might catch me online. I'm still not lining up for anything, but
I ain't gonna lie. I think they dropped those recently, like a year or two ago. Maybe I'm tripping, but I feel like they dropped those recently.
I got some research to do.
I'm gonna look this up real quick. Continue.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that. So they did drop those. I'm sure. Well, I don't know what they'll be like. The price will be like now, but sneakers haven't been going too crazy, so hopefully nothing wild. But I'll be very interested in those. You said what?
2021 is
2021.
Oh wow, maybe I just missed that during COVID.
I think they're under retail right now, or I mean, around retail. I'm not mad, bro. Those are probably one of my favorite 5s as well. That's like the cleanest black colorway, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, I had a pair in middle school that I outgrew going into high school. I definitely want to re-up on those.
I'd be devastated.
Yeah. But yeah, this is cool. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Those are definitely clean. I also know the Great 5s are set to make a re-release. This year. So I actually personally own the last pair that released. And I will say, not a super wearable shoe in terms of like, like they're super, they definitely like, are very loud sneakers, even though they're mostly white. but the purple, the teal, super. I think the fives as a whole are super loud silhouette just because they're so bulky, but I think they kind of fit the current mold of where the trends are these days, with like the draped pants. I think it makes it a lot easier to just kind of be a little bit more low key if you want to put them on a fit. So
Yeah.
I think these black metallic fives, man, for anyone listening, just looking for like an everyday sneaker, I think this is the move, man. What will not go with black? Black goes with everything. So um
Spring summer is a little questionable in my humble opinion. I feel like you need the all white, just Air Force Ones. That's all you need in that season. But for them colder months, you want to keep warm. Have some extra space in your foot. Hey, these could be it.
but I'm just thinking like a summer in New York City, man. The streets get disgusting.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to see these, but I definitely need them to drop more original 5 colorways. I want to say I've heard they're also dropping the Fear 5s, which if that is true, I will be trying to get those.
Interesting. I have not heard.
Yeah, it would be cool to see a yeah, I didn't hear about that either. I'm obviously not as tapped in, but it would definitely be cool to see a resurgence of 5s. I feel like it's one of the better colorways that isn't super appreciated in some of like compared to like maybe 3s or 4s or things like that, or I guess 1s had like a big run a few years ago. So it'll be cool to see, because I personally, like I said, in middle school I was heavy on, I got like the Oreos, grapes, and I think Fire Red 5s. Those are I was like really big into 5s at the time, even if they weren't my favorite colorway. I think, just disclosure, in middle school I wore a uniform, so it was way easier, like you said, Eric, about the grapes. Like at the time it was way easier to just like everyone just wore whatever on their feet, because like we were all wearing the same uniform, so it kind of just like defaulted, and like the sneakers were like the one thing to pop out. So like I was wearing the grapes, so like I didn't really think too deeply about it. I do agree, if like I were to buy grapes now, maybe it's a little tougher to manage those, but even then I just think they're really dope shoes, and I think it's a fun silhouette to work with. So hopefully there's more dropping.
I feel like they should be where the 3s are in the culture in terms of popularity.
I agree.
Like I like 3s, but not as much as 5s.
Yeah, I think because for me 4s are my favorite silhouette. I'm sure
4 would be my favorite if they were more comfortable. Aesthetically, they're my favorite.
Yeah, aesthetically they just look beautiful to me, and I think that's like the sweet spot. And I think 5s I would then have below them, and 3s below that. Not those are not my top 3, but
we gotta rank these in an episode.
Yeah, I think those would be a fun. That would be a fun episode actually. So I won't reveal my entire list, but just out of those like low numbers, I think 3s are actually my least favorite out of those 3. But it's interesting because those seem to have the most pull behind them. So yeah, that'll be a fun
keep
list.
Getting colorway after colorway for like. Not even OG colorways. Like they'd be getting the most random like women's colorways, and
they love women's 3s. I think women just love 3s. Yeah,
maybe it's got to be the case actually. Now that I think about it,
you see women wearing a lot. They like 4s too, to be fair, but as you see women wearing a lot of 3s. I've seen a lot of women wear 3s.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right, man. Well, that is all the points we wanted to hit. Any other comments or anything else that y'all want to leave the people with?
Hey man, go buy yourself some 5s.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, get out there, get some 5s if this is your cup of tea. Or I think out of all the 5s, this is one of the cool ones to get in terms of, like Eric said, just wearability. So, and if you want to see more 5s come out, go support 5s. But yeah, that was a fun episode for sure. And
acting like it's a small business.
Yeah, I'm saying this like Jordan needs you to pick up the 5s. We need you to pick up these 5s. We can drop more 5s. Yeah, they don't care, bro.
They do not.
They do not care. Go buy some freaking Chinese food or something. I don't know, little mom and pop shop. But either way, That was a fun episode. A lot of fun topics. Nothing as long as last week, thankfully. I think last week was fun too, but some more quick hits this week. And we're gonna just keep going, keep at it. There's a lot of fun stuff coming up, and all the sports, especially Prem coming back soon. I think they've been on like a little cup break, but Prem coming back soon, so we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Champions League as well, man. Man City, Real Madrid tomorrow.
That's gonna be massive. We definitely got to talk about those games. I know we're gonna want to talk about Rashford's Villa debut, things like that.
Jadon Sancho, man. I'm not gonna get into it.
This guy. NBA, the fallout of all these trades. Just
All-Star game
coming up.
This
the
weekend.
New format. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff coming up. So keep tuned in. We'll be back very religiously every week. New episode. The clips dropping. Just tap in. Tell your friends. Subscribe. Whatever you got to do. We really appreciate it. But this has been a fun episode.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, y'all. Have a great week, y'all. See y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.